Christopher Robin is one part jumbled execution and one part my emotions! My emotions! Hey everyone, it's me, Aaron.
I'm Michelle.
And this is our post-Geekout reaction for Christopher Robin. Does this actually count as one of the Disney live-action, It's weird, because they're getting weird with these. Is the upcoming Mowgli film a Disney film?
I don't know.
I don't know that one either, because I think that, man, it's so weird because when you fall into the category of what franchises are in the public domain, it's like, yes, it's in the public domain, but you can't do anything that resembles this version that this person over here did because they own that version of it because it was their creation. It's so goddamn weird.
Oh, so that'll be like the third live-action Jungle Book movie?
I saw that poster as I was walking out of the theater tonight, and I was just like, wait, didn't we just do this?
Speaking of which, like a couple of years ago, there was Goodbye Christopher Robin, so it's like,
right?
Wow, this is like...
I thought this had been done before.
Yeah, it's like...
Disney bought Fox just because they're out of ideas. They need to take other people's ideas now. That shit, man, they already did that. That's what the whole princess boom of like the early 90s was about. It was like, oh shit, we don't have original things anymore.
But that's kind of the thing, like Disney never really did too many original stuff.
Yeah.
Like Snow White, their first animated feature film, that was based off a fairy tale. So was Cinderella. Bambi was based off a book.
Is Wreck-It Ralph their biggest original franchise?
Lilo and Stitch, I think, was an original concept. I don't know if Dumbo was.
No, Dumbo was some... Wait, actually, I don't know now.
I don't know. It's like... And I'm the Disney expert. It's like,
you are the Disney expert, yeah.
And you'd think I would be the one who wants to see this movie, but it's like, I see all the trailers, and it's like, I
know, right? You didn't come with me for this, and I was stunned when you were like, yeah, I don't want to see that. I was like, really?
That's the thing, it's like, even though I love Disney, and I watched Winnie the Pooh when I was a little toddler, and pretty much almost every kid did.
Yeah.
So, which is why I get that they were trying to, like, go for our, like, feelings or emotional or nostalgic.
It's nostalgia, yeah.
But it's like, I just saw this, like, The reason why is because I'm just getting tired of all the Disney live-action reimaginings. Right? It's like... This is so tiring, it doesn't even feel original.
It feels like this would be like a great idea for a movie, except that, again, like I can't stop thinking about, goddamn, man, like Disney, you gotta give us something new now.
It's like, oh, hey, remember your childhood characters? Oh, they're back at, oh, you're a grown-up now. It's like, Hook did that.
Yeah.
It's like, except it made sense in Hook because...
Yeah, I did have that moment in which I stopped and I thought, this is kind of like Hook. But imagine when we eventually get to that point where all the people who are nostalgic for Hook, which was a movie nostalgic for the people who grew up with Peter Pan, they're now going to make a film that's a reference back to Hook. Which, by the way, Hook is fucking bad. It's awful. I'm sorry. I know all the millennials out there. And I am a millennial. This is not some guy coming in here wagging a finger at millennials. I am saying this from someone within your own ranks. The Emperor has no clothes on this one, guys. You saw it when you were 5, and that's why you love this thing. Anywho,
it's like, except in Hook, like, they had a reason to bring back Peter Pan because his kids were kidnapped by Captain Hook. It's like, what is the purpose of Winnie the Pooh going back to Christopher Robin?
It's that he has lost his ability to have fun.
Oh.
No, it's that Okay, let's go ahead and actually start this, because people are screaming at me, when are we getting to the fireworks factory? Yeah, this movie starts off so weird. It starts off with all the stuffed animals in the 100-acre woods, which, oddly enough, Owl is not a stuffed animal, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But Rabbit is not one either.
Like, here's the thing, it's like, in the original story, like, there were stuffed animals, but there were also, like, real animals that Christopher Robin was in his backyard. So, like, the owl was real, the rabbit was real, but, like, everybody else was not real. They were all stuffed animals.
The kangaroo was weird. That was real. We don't know that one. Okay, that answers that. That was a question I was having. Like, the owl, I buy that one being a real animal, but I could have sworn rabbit wasn't. But now that I'm like going back in my head.
Yeah, it's like every time I would look, I remember like watching the cartoon when I was like, how come like rabbit and owl don't have like stitches like the others? It's like, oh, now that I'm older and I realize this, it makes way more sense.
Now that you mention it, going back to it, it's like, oh yeah, they didn't have stitches. Yeah, you're right. But it starts off with Christopher Robin having a farewell party thrown for him because he's going off to boarding school. It's like, this is the last time he'll be with the 100-acre woods people. And yeah, right off the bat, it is like, heartstring. Yeah, man. I immediately was like, oh, God.
Yeah, I remember, like, the last thing you told me is, like, I'm gonna go see the Depressed Bear movie, bye.
That's what I told her. Yeah, it started off with that. I was like, oh, my God. Just instantly, I felt the emotions welling up in me. Then it leaves the 100-acre woods, and it's Christopher Robin going to this boarding school. And the opening, like, sequence of showing him growing up, it's pages turning. And every now and again, the page will come in, and it'll be like a little sketch.
Yeah.
And it's like to make it look like the book
is being written, or like...
Yeah, it's like it's being written, but also like you'll have an image of Christopher Robin there doing something, and then like a pencil will come in and like draw that version of Christopher Robin there to make it look like it came from the book. But it's also got like the chapters of his life going by.
Oh.
And so like chapter 1 was literally titled When Christopher Robin Needs to Leave His Childhood Behind.
It's like, wow, they're really hammering it in, like...
Jesus Christ. No subtlety at all on that one. But then, like, I'll end up skipping, like, the even-numbered chapters, and it's just flip. It shows him in boarding school, flip. Chapter 3, in which Christopher Robin receives sad news. Like, literally, that's what it's called. I just went, are you fucking serious? And, like, it cuts to him running out in the boarding school. It's raining, and he sees his mom walk in by herself, and then she goes up and hugs him, and he's hugging her back. And yeah, you instantly know what happened. Like, his dad died while he was at boarding school. And then it shows him, like, at the funeral, and some guy comes up to him, you're the man of the house now. And I was like, wow. Just instantly in your face. Childhood gone, suckers. Doesn't exist anymore. And it shows him growing up, and it shows him meeting Haley Atwell, who's going to be his wife. And then he goes
letting the mom be responsible? Nah. Women being responsible? That's bullshit.
This was, in all fairness, like 1910.
That's true, yeah.
This was like, there's a moment after he meets Haley Atwell and she becomes pregnant, he has to go off to war while she's pregnant. And it's so bizarre because there is just a montage of him in a war. In a Winnie the Pooh movie. And it's not like Hacksaw Ridge, in which is like people are walking around with like their guts spilling out of them or anything. But
I'm just imagining like Winnie the Pooh in World War II and his stuffing is falling. It's like, oh, bother!
Eeyore just walking around like, I knew this is how it would end. Alright.
Sorry we're ruining your childhood.
That's what we kind of did at the beginning. But yeah, it was so weird to me that's like, this is a Winnie the Pooh film, right? Because it's not like they're graphic or anything, but it's like, it's more graphic than I'd say like, I don't know, Captain America the First Avenger, which I'm not coming in here and saying like that needed to be graphic because it was during World War II. It was like, no, it needed to be what it was because it was trying to be like a World War II style, like hero action, Johnny Big Chin kind of a movie. It's like, yeah, it was going for that, and it did. It's weird that this film is more graphic than that.
Yes.
And again, it's a short sequence, but it's like Ewan McGregor, like Ryan jumping from bombs. No, just dirt scattering on his face. They don't like just cut back to Haley Atwell having to raise their kid by herself because he's off at war. And then he comes back and he finally sees his daughter for the first time. And the daughter just has a dead expression in her eyes. And there's a moment there, in which, as I said, it will pause at certain moments and then have the pencil come in and draw it as a sketch. And it pauses as he's looking at his daughter there and gives this look of like, oh no, my daughter doesn't know who I am. Like that kind of look on his face. Pencil comes in, sketches all of them. Then like the page kind of turns and it's just him there now. It's like, wow!
Like how old was his daughter?
Like 3.
3 years old?
3, 4, something like that. Like we saw her getting like on like her 3rd birthday. Because he wasn't there for that.
All right, because like if he came back like when she was like still like a little baby, it's like I don't think she would understand what's going on around.
It's just enough that you can tell this kid doesn't care about me. But again, the montage just continues. He gets a job. He has to start working at this company. You see him like crunching numbers, and then he looks over to his left, and out in the living room, Haley Atwell is dancing around with their daughter, and they're having a good time. And then he stands up and walks towards them, and is like, "Oh, he's got to go and join them." Closes doors. Wow, this movie, like, it really is just beating you over the head in the beginning, And that's...
Like, he doesn't even try to get to know her, or like...
No, well, not that you see in the movie. Because I'll skip through the montage now, but I just had to, like, point out to you, that montage has no subtlety to it at all.
This movie doesn't seem to have any subtlety at all.
And that's what I was going to get to. Yeah, that is the biggest problem with this entire film, is that it has zero subtlety to it. And I know you might be saying, well, it's a Winnie the Pooh film. It doesn't really need subtlety. Did you listen to all the stuff I just described there at the beginning of this? This starts off with Christopher Robin shipped out to boarding school. His dad dies. He has to come back and take care of the home.
The thing about like Winnie the Pooh is like it is subtle. It's like it's whimsical. Like the stories are whimsical. They're like very simple stories that you can read with your child and everything. That was like the whole point of it.
Yeah,
so.
But I mean, like you look at each of them. Like you look at like there came a moment in which Eeyore and Piglet and Tigger were all like. They were looking out this window and they were saying, okay, talk about whatever you see. And Piglet's like, panic, terror, horror. And Tigger's like, adventure, excitement, danger. And Eeyore's just, depression, darkness. Like, he didn't say that. But he was just like, bad things. Like, he was just listing off Eeyore things. And it was in that moment that I was like, you could actually, like, read into Winnie the Pooh as these are the different sides of Christopher Robin's personality.
Like, there's actually, like, a theory around going on about, like, how, like, each character represents, like, a mental disorder or something. Like,
why is it always a fucking... I'm sorry, I gotta get into this real quick. Why is it that every single time someone comes up with a theory about a children's form of entertainment, it's always, there's a mental disorder, or they were all dead. Those are the only two. Those are the only fucking two. Rugrats. All the children were actually dead the whole time. What are you basing that on? Well, his dad made toys, so maybe he was making it for the kid they didn't have. That's literally nothing. There's nothing there in that argument. You are grasping at literal ghost straws. Not real straws, ghost straws at that point. Ed, and Eddie. I might give you that one. That one's actually got some legs to it.
Oh, and don't forget it was all made up by some kid in a coma routine. That's like
that one hasn't been done in a while. Oh no, wait, no, Pokemon.
Yeah,
that's the big one. Pokemon. You're right. Oh fuck, that is one that's still going around. But yeah, like that's another one. It's like, oh, they're all like a mental disorder. It's like, it's not. Listen, I'm not saying don't like come up with those theories because they're very interesting theories, but it always seems to go to those ones.
Yeah, it's like
sometimes it's just. Here's the thing: having depression is not. Okay, I'm sorry. Hold on. Being sad and creating like a childhood thing to kind of cope with that doesn't mean you have a mental illness. It means that you're coping with sadness. But that just, I want to go ahead and clarify, that's also not me coming in here and just going, well, depression is not mental illness. No, depression is. But, hey, Eeyore is me being sad is not necessarily that. There's a difference, and that's what I'm trying to say. But anywho.
It's like, I like that statement right there, like, oh, describe what you say. It's like, that just feels like they could, like, simplify the characters way too much. Like, dumb them down to, like, one-note characters.
No, it actually works in the film.
Okay.
You didn't see it, and I don't want to spoil what the moment was,
Alrighty.
but that one moment actually kind of worked. Because it was harkening back to something that Pooh was doing earlier, and that ended up paying off later on in this. So yeah, that was actually a good moment there.
Okay.
But that is something that I will go ahead and say about this film. All the stuff with the stuffed animals, and all the stuff in the 100-acre woods is actually really good.
Yeah, like, that's the thing, is, like, it seemed, like, from the trailers, it looked really cute. Like, all, like, the animals, like, in the forest and everything, and it's like, but how much of the movie is actually going to be in the 100-acre wood, exactly? So it's
about a third to a half of it, like, in between those two.
Yeah, it's like, that's the thing, it's like, oh, stuffed animals that are going into the real world in the way. It's like
that's what this becomes during the final act, which that's not really a spoiler. It is in the trailers.
Yeah.
And that is something that I will say right off the bat on this thing. It's so bizarre to me because when you look at that trailer, what I thought this was going to be was, yeah, they were his imaginary friends when he was a kid, and now he's kind of lost his way. He doesn't really have time for his family, doesn't have time for his wife or his kid. He's all about business. He doesn't have fun anymore. and this is kind of like his inner childhood coming back out, and it'll be one of those films where it's like, okay, is it a question, were they real or were they not real? Like one of those. No, it answers that immediately. They were real, they're in another dimension, and there's a doorway that comes into our world whenever he needs them. Yeah, that's what it is. It's like, wow, you could have really done something smart here.
Yep.
And it's not.
Nah.
Yeah, so it's kind of a shame, because, yeah, Winnie the Pooh, he wakes up, he doesn't know where any of his friends are. Oh, well, maybe Christopher Robin can help me. He goes through the door, and now rather than popping out back at his old home, which is where his wife and his daughter have gone, he had to stay behind because he had to do work that weekend, and it was a big vacation they'd been planning this whole time. So Haley Atwell was just like, all right, fine, well, we're going up there by ourselves then. And it's very much a, like, our marriage might be over kind of a situation, because she's saying, listen, you never have fun. You haven't even laughed in years. And his daughter is about to go off to boarding school as well, and she doesn't want to go off to boarding school, but she does everything right. She is working her butt off to try and impress her dad and make her dad like her, because she thinks that's the only way that dad will like me. Is if it's kind of dark. That's the only way that dad will like me, if I just dedicate myself completely to my studies. She's always studying, always doing her homework. Like, if she doesn't have enough homework, she makes up homework because she's just trying to impress her dad. It's kind of dark when you want to really get into it.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, there's a moment that perfectly, like, sums up their relationship, in which Ewan McGregor comes home. Christopher Robin comes home, and she asks, "Could you read me a story?" "Oh, of course I can." And he pulls out a history book on the Industrial Revolution, and then she just goes, "Daddy, I think I'm tired." "Oh, well, okay." And then he walks out the door, closes the door, sees the light get turned off. Then he stays there for a second, looks under the door, and he sees the light then come back on, and it's like, "Oh man, your kid just ditched you. Oh man, they did the car before you, bro." That's a reference to Teen Titans Go. Sorry. Yeah, so that's kind of the situation he's in. He's now at home for the weekend by himself, but the reason why he had to stay behind is because the company is going to have to find a way to cut 20%. That's it, because he works for a luggage company, and nobody's going on holiday anymore because the war just ended. Nobody goes on holiday during a war. So he has to stay behind and figure out a way to cut 20% from the budget, or else they're all going to lose their jobs. And this is a big problem that I have with this film, is that it's the classic story of, as Martin from Double Toasted likes to say, fuck me for working. It's the story of, oh, Dad didn't have time for me because he was busy, paying for my house and my food and my clothes. And don't get me wrong, there is, like, I'm not saying, like, oh, you should never be mad at your parents for working constantly. It's like, no, I understand what the movie's going for. I understand that. But if you had picked any other excuse for why he couldn't go on this vacation, like, even if the boss had been like, well, if you were really dedicated to the company, you would stay behind this weekend. Like, something like that. Just even like a small thing. Yeah, that would work. No, his entire division is going to be closed down. Not just him, everyone he works with is going to lose their jobs if he doesn't figure out a way to cut 20% from the budget. It's like, yeah, I'm sorry, honey, he has to stay. Daddy can't go on vacation this weekend. Yeah, if they had chosen any other excuse, like anything else, just like, well, the boss wanted me to play golf this weekend with him, and it might be a really good opportunity for me to move up. Yeah, okay, that's definitely an excuse, and be like, oh, Christopher Robin, no, family first. No, man, there's like 10 people in your division, and all of them have families too. You kind of do have to stay behind and figure out how to cut 20% from this budget. So that was something that was going through my mind the entire time, because this entire movie is about him having to learn, oh, I have been ignoring my family. Good, important message to put in there. Good. I get it. But this is like the one time in which you have to look at it and go, no, sorry, honey. Work does have to come first on this one. I'm sorry, and that was a huge problem with this.
In the end, he just, quits his job and they end up living in the 100-acre wood with Winnie the Pooh. Did I spoil the ending?
No, you did not. No, you did not. I had to just mislead you there for a second. But alright,
that would have been something.
Wouldn't have seen that coming, did you? But okay. So basically, yeah, Winnie the Pooh ends up coming through the doorway. He comes out through the tree in like his backyard, which it's apparently Winnie the Pooh has good lines in here. Because Winnie the Pooh is one of those guys who you could just write the philosophy of Winnie the Pooh kind of book on him.
They actually kind of did.
I would be shocked if they hadn't.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if they didn't do like a 365-day like calendar that was just all quotes from him. It was like, oh, that is an inspirational, uplifting quote. Because he has a lot of really good lines in here that are very Winnie the Pooh style lines that do kind of sum up what we all like about that character. And there is the excuse they basically has is, well, maybe the door sends me where I need to be. And it's like, okay, I buy that. Okay, fine. Again, I'm kind of mad that it's not going for the more subtle approach of was it all in his head, but more of the, no, it's an actual interdimensional doorway. Yeah, it's kind of weird. They're all real. It's definitely, it's like, yeah, all right, that's a little bit. Seems like you could have gone with something way smarter on this one, but you didn't want to. But all right, fine. You judged the movie that you have, not the movie that you wanted.
It's like, it's also kind of creepy when you think about like toys coming to life. I mean...
They kind of built an entire franchise based around that very thing.
I know, but it's like
I did think about Toy Story though while I was watching this. Yeah.
No, but it's like I read like some of the comments on the Christopher Robin trailer, and some people were like creeped out at the stuffed animals.
It's weird how realistic they look. I'll give you that.
Like I get what they're going for. They're trying to go for like the original like design of the stuffed animals.
Yeah, they absolutely are. But yeah, it's weird to see a thing that we came up looking at something modernized the way that would look as an actual stuffed animal from like the 1910s. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so Winnie the Pooh comes in, and the only way that he can get Winnie the Pooh back is the doorway is now gone in his backyard, so he has to take him back to the original doorway, which is at the place where his wife and daughter are vacationing. And he can't get his work done with Winnie the Pooh there, like just knocking things over.
Oh, Pooh, you're the reason why I'm gonna be jobless.
Yeah. That is what it kind of looked like there for a second. And again, it's one of those things where it's like you're supposed to look at this and it's like, no, Christopher Robin, play with Winnie the Pooh. You should be playing with Winnie the Pooh. But again, the situation that you're setting us up with is, no, like a dozen people are going to be fired if he doesn't do. No, Pooh. Chill the fudge out.
Like, there's a time and a place to have fun. This is not the right time. Just hold on a little longer, Pooh.
One quick thing that I'll also say while I'm talking about when Winnie the Pooh comes in, he freaks out when he first sees Winnie the Pooh, but then he kind of just accepts it real quickly. And he's walking around with Winnie the Pooh trying to get him to the train station to go back to his old home. And Pooh is talking, and like one person sees it and kind of freaks out. But everybody else, they very clearly are acknowledging that this bear is talking and moving, and they don't seem to have any problem with it at all. But yeah, so he goes back there, he goes into the 100-acre woods, and we actually do get to spend some time in the 100-acre woods then. But before that, it was all in the real world, and this is something I haven't really talked about. I've mentioned there's really no subtlety to it, but that would be one thing if it was the real world is very, very dark. That's how it kind of starts. But then when you actually see him there, like at the luggage company, his boss comes around, his boss is more of a cartoon than any of the 100-acre woods characters. Like he comes in like, oh no, this is where I want to be. Puts his hand on a piece of luggage and knocks it over, like knocks over a display. Oh, I'm very sorry about that. Please, Christopher Robin, meet me in here. Like just moves his hand and knocks over another display of luggage. And then like they're talking in there. It's like, you have to cut 20%. And everybody else is listening. It's like, I don't know what they're saying. Don't worry, I read lips. And then he's like, 20%, we have to cut 20%. And he's yelling so loud, we can hear it through the other side of the door. And he's like, apple, they're saying apple. I think they're taking a lunch order. It's like, oh my God. You can't follow the crazy, depressing, like, lead up that we had with everyone is acting like this in the real world. Everybody in the real world is so cartoonish and everything is so goofy in the real world, but they're trying to go for really dark and serious with like the cinematography and like that creepy ass setup that we got at the beginning of this film. This movie really does feel like two people had two very different approaches to this film and they merged them together. And yeah, it's so uneven. Mm. And it's not like it's uneven like that scene will be like this and this scene will be like that. Again, the opening was crazy dark and then it goes into some of the goofy stuff later on. But even when the goofy stuff is happening, like, it's shot like it's supposed to be dark and serious. It's so bizarre how they decided to approach this. But then they get into the 100-acre woods. And Christopher Robin, like, starts yelling at Pooh because he, like, almost lost all of his papers. And it's like, if I lose any of these papers, then I will be chewed apart by, I can't remember his boss's name, but it begins with a W. And he goes, by a woozle? Yes, Pooh, a woozle will eat me if I lose even one piece of paper. And then Pooh's like, well, I guess I should leave so that you can have more fish energy. It's efficiency. Pooh turns around, Pooh's gone. And it's like, oh, sadness. Oh, that's sad.
It's like the boss turns out to be a woozle in disguise.
It kind of, it felt like it was going to go for that at one point. But he's like in the 100-acre woods, he runs across Eeyore, which is played by Brad Garrett, which is one of the greatest pieces of casting I've ever seen. Brad Garrett needs way more work. Brad Garrett has got an amazing voice and does not get the work he deserves. But yeah, he's also a great stand-up comedian, by the way. But Brad Garrett, he meets Eeyore, and then he goes over there, and he runs into the rest of the people from the 100-acre woods. But Pooh's the only one who recognized him. Nobody else recognized him. It's like, he's too large. He must be a Huffalump. Like, and all of them are scared of him. And he has to find a way to convince them that he's really Christopher Robin, and he basically does it by playing. He does it by embracing his inner childhood again, and he starts to really get into it. He starts to really enjoy it. And, like, you can see, like, the moment in which they're all starting to realize, it is Christopher Robin. Like, Eeyore, actually, like, you see Eeyore being happy. Like, you see Eeyore's eyes, like, lighting up. And, man, yeah, it touches you. And from this point on, we might get into, like, a little spoilery stuff, so I'm going to save everything else from here on out after I get my score. But I will just say, yeah, all the stuff in the 100-acre woods, like, that moment in which he is embracing his childhood again, yeah, it's cliche. We all knew that's exactly where this was going. We knew that that's what this was going to be. But it was a damn good moment. And there comes a moment in which he goes up, and I'm tearing up thinking about it, and he has to reconnect with Winnie the Pooh after he yelled at him and Winnie the Pooh disappeared. He has to go to him and reconnect. And I was bawling, and it wasn't just me. I heard so many people crying in there. The guy, like, on the same aisle next to me just gave out one of those big nose blows. Yeah, it was such an emotional moment. And yeah, it's nostalgia. Who gives a crap? Nostalgia is a way of, like, building emotions. You formed an emotional connection with a thing, you know, that doesn't mean that you just put it there on a plate and I instantly just go, oh, it's that thing that I'm like, no, you gotta do it right. And they did it right in that moment. It was such a touching scene. Like, I came home from this and I just played with Peach for like half an hour because I was like, I just want to play with the dog. I just want to have like a good old hug with the dog because I don't have like any stuffed animals here with me. They're all way back home. But even then, I didn't have the connection that I had to like Winnie the Pooh. So yeah, man, it was such an amazing moment. And all the stuff of him there in the 100-acre woods, reconnecting with them, it worked so incredibly well. But then he goes back into the real world, and he has to get to the big business meeting, and they all kind of cross into the real world. And I mean, it's fun stuff, but the real world is just so a combination of bland and cartoonish at the same time that you don't really enjoy that much stuff in there. You enjoy some of the interactions that the Winnie the Pooh gang have in there. But, you know, that's about it. And Haley Atwell is completely wasted in this. They could have gotten anybody for that role. Like, it is a shame seeing how they just wasted Haley Atwell in this. You have a perfectly good Haley Atwell just sitting right there, and all she just does is just go, I don't know when we're coming back, Christopher. Literally anybody could have done that. Yeah, it is a shame they did not give her more to work with.
It's funny how you mentioned, like, when they go into the real world, it, like, it's when the movie is at its weak point, because it reminds me of, like, all those live-action movies where, like, oh, the cartoon characters go into the real world, you know, like the Smurfs and all that.
The upcoming Sonic the Hedgehog film.
Yeah!
Has anyone enjoyed those? Anyone ever enjoy that? Like, I've never once heard of one of those, like, oh, these cartoon characters are now in the real world. We He-Man them, everybody. Yeah. I have never seen any of those work. I've never heard of anybody enjoying those. Yet they just keep doing it. But I will say, this is the best example of that. Because Christopher Robin always existed in the real world.
Yes.
Christopher Robin didn't have a house in the 100 Acre Woods. He came to 100 Acre Woods from the real world. This is one of those times where it actually makes sense. We understand this. This is an actual accurate thing to do. I don't have a problem with the animals crossing into the real world on this one. I just have a problem with the real world in this one. That's the problem with it. Because, yeah, he goes to the big business meeting, and as I said, his boss is cartoonish. But everybody else at the boardroom is even more cartoonish. The British people in this film, unless you're Haley Atwell or Ewan McGregor, you act the way that an American thinks a British stereotype acted. Like everybody's... yeah, that is everybody in this film in the real world. There is a moment in which you see they're in a cab. And the cab driver, he gets into an accident, and he gets out, he's talking to a police officer, and they're all just, oh, well, blimey, I swear, I'm auditioning for the Mary Poppins reboot, I am. Yeah, it is so cartoonish. Hey, Peach, I was just talking about you. Get up here, Peach.
Yes.
It's Peach. Yay.
She's our little stuffed animal.
She is. She's happy about that. So yeah, it's so weird because, man, when this movie works, it works. When this movie is tugging on those heartstrings, it pulls it the exact right amount and then lets it go. It does that stuff so perfectly. And the rest of this film is an uneven mess. Yeah, this movie... I don't want to say mess. I don't want to say mess. But if I was just following a movie about these characters set in this world and everybody was acting this way in this world, if this was a movie about Ewan McGregor just playing anybody, just some random guy, and he had lost touch with his family, and, been to war, lost his dad when he was a kid, he kept all that stuff the same. He lost touch with his family. But it was something else that made him realize, he just met some random guy. And some random guy gave him some advice. And that advice inspired him to go and reconnect with his family. If that was the movie, I'd be like, this thing is really freaking bland and uneven, and I don't know what they were going for with this, and it's totally uninteresting. But it's not that. You drop Winnie the Pooh in there, and you had me escape to the 100 Acre Woods for a little bit. Yeah, that stuff was really damn good.
Yeah, it's of course the stuff with Winnie the Pooh is good.
Well, in all fairness, if there was one thing you had to nail in it, it's that. This movie nailed the thing it had to nail in it. But, it's not like you can judge just that.
Yeah.
You gotta judge the entire film.
Yes, because the film is called Christopher Robin, not Winnie the Pooh. So...
Yeah. So I'm gonna give this a 7.5.
Yeah,
I think that's being real fair. I was gonna give it an 8 when I walked out of there, but I was like, oh, there's so much not good stuff in here.
Yeah, it's
I don't necessarily want to say bad, but it's not good. There's so much stuff in here that is not good.
It's I feel like they're just banking on the nostalgia and all the emotional parts to get to you.
But that stuff does work in here. And I gotta give them that. I was bawling at that scene. I will flat out admit. I was just, oh God, I could feel just the tears coming down me.
So, would you recommend that I would see it?
When it comes on Netflix.
Okay.
Yes. Or whatever the Disney streaming service is by that point. Yeah, when it comes on that point, absolutely. I would totally say this is absolutely worth watching. I don't know if I would recommend watching it in theaters, but it is absolutely worth watching.
Especially if you're a Disney or Winnie the Pooh fan?
Oh, if you're a Winnie the Pooh fan, then yeah, definitely. If you're a Winnie the Pooh fan, the stuff in the 100 Acre Woods, he's in the 100 Acre Woods. This is an hour and 44-minute long film. He's in the 100 Acre Woods for maybe half an hour. That half an hour is so damn good. And if you are a Winnie the Pooh fan, it is probably worth the price of admission just for that.
It's a bowl of Lucky Charms. You gotta dig through the crappy cereal to get to the tasty marshmallows.
That's the comparison a lot of people make for this kind of thing, but I've always stood by, no. Try just eating those marshmallows by themselves. Try taking all the cereal bits out of the thing of Lucky Charms. It's just biting into sugar sponges. It's so bad. You need the crunchy, bland cereal in there to even that out.
Yeah, but sometimes there's too much of the crunchy, bland cereal.
Fair enough. But this movie, the crunchy, bland cereal stuff was not the crunchy, bland cereal stuff. the Crunchy Bland cereal stuff in here was like, I don't know, overly sugared Frosted Flakes. Like, Frosted Flakes are good. Take Frosted Flakes and then just pour a big old thing of sugar on top of that. It's like, no, man, now it's just big, goofy mush in a big pile of diabetes milk. Yeah, that's my rating. That's my rating for this, everybody.
Reminds me of the time when I was a little kid and I just dumped all the sugar in my Rice Krispies and my mom got so upset.
You know what? That's it. They're not Frosted Flakes. They're Rice Krispies with way too much sugar blown on top. And now you just got the sugar shits for like a half hour. Okay, so yeah, my score is a 7.5. Spoiler time, spoiler corner. As I said, Christopher Robin, he gets his briefcase. He ends up falling asleep in the 100 Acre Woods. He wakes up there and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's tomorrow. I thought it was today." It's like, okay, that's a good Winnie the Pooh line. So he runs out of there and he bids them all farewell. And he's like, "No, yes, this was great. I enjoyed, but I gotta get back to work now, guys." I'm like, "Oh, okay then." And Tigger gives him his briefcase, and then later on they discover, oh, all of his papers are still here. Peach one's down. All of his papers are still here because Tigger just packed it full of all the important things, and it's like sticks and twigs and the weather vane from Owl's house and Eeyore's tail. And when Pooh tells them, it's like, no, he'll be eaten by a woozle if he doesn't have all these papers. He goes back and they all cross into the real world and they end up finding his daughter. And there's a scene in here in which Haley Atwell tells the daughter, you know what, forget your father. Go out there and play. How do you do that? It's like, wow, yeah, again.
That's way heavy-handed.
Yeah, exactly. Really not subtle about this. But she goes out there and she's having fun, and then she ends up coming across the Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, Eeyore, and Piglet. They're the ones who cross into the real world. She runs across them, and after they explain to her they have to get the papers to her dad, it then kind of becomes her movie and becomes her little adventure.
Honestly, I feel like it would have been a lot better if, like, she was...
There came that moment. There's a moment when she is on her bike and they're all, like, sitting in, like, a little
Yeah, like,
wagon.
if, like, Christopher Robin, like, maybe gave his toys, like Winnie the Pooh and all his stuffed animals to her to play with.
Like, if this movie was told from the point of view of her and Christopher Robin did not run into Pooh, didn't go back into the 100 Acre Woods, but she ended up finding the 100 Acre Woods. She has an adventure with him. She learns, oh, this is how my dad used to be. Because there are moments in here in which Winnie the Pooh is saying things like, who told you that? Your father did. That doesn't sound like my dad. And she's starting to learn like how her dad used to be.
But then again, it's the Christopher Robin movie, not Christopher Robin's daughter movie. So,
in all honesty, if you would name this just Winnie the Pooh, like I think people still would have been fine with it.
I guess so. It's like Winnie the Pooh goes to London or something like that.
Maybe not that. But yeah, like there's a moment in which she is on her bike and they're all in the wagon behind her and she is going off to the train station. She has to like get them in her arms and like try and just tell them all, pretend like you're napping, pretend like you're napping. And she tries to get onto the train to go back to London to see her dad. I was like, oh my gosh, I really am enjoying this. This feels like a new generation of Winnie the Pooh stuff here with the daughter. I really like this. This is really good. But then it cuts back to the dad with all the weird business guys there. And it's like, oh, come on, people. Pick a lane already on this thing.
It's like, why are the adults more cartoony than the kids and the stuffed animals? Like,
right? But yeah. Then Haley Atwell finds out that she left for London. She goes back to try and find her. And she ends up finding Christopher Robin in the middle of his meeting. And he hears, oh, something's wrong with my daughter. Well, he just runs out of there, which is good for him. Yay, he learned the lesson. And they're driving around town trying to find her. And he goes, listen, I don't think that she's alone. And she says, well, who is he with? And then it's like, oh, how's he going to explain this? It then cuts to him in the middle of his explanation. It's like, and there was, sorry, I can buy two different names. There was Peor and Iglet. There's Piglet, and then there's Eeyore, and she's giving the
Igor, which is what we're doing.
Hey! He's giving the explanation, and she's like, oh my god, you finally cracked. And then they run across them. They run across Tigger and Eeyore and Piglet, and she's freaking out, but trying to stay cool that these stuffed animals are talking. Yeah, it's, it's very bland. Like, it should be kind of magical, but it really does kind of just have that feel of every other movie that does this.
Yeah.
Every other movie that does the like, no, there's this talking thing you don't understand. Oh, you've gone crazy. Oh, it's the talking thing, and I, the person who didn't believe, am now with the talking thing. Oh, I have to just be calm and collect, but I'm freaking out on the inside. But they go, and he runs into the daughter, and he has a big emotional moment where he hugs the daughter. He's like, well, I thought if I got the papers to you, then you would like me, and you wouldn't send me off to boarding school. He's like, oh, honey, I'm here with you. And it's a nice moment, but at that moment, all I could think is, I'm like, all right, this is fine. Him hugging his daughter. But 20 minutes ago, he was hugging Winnie the Pooh, and I was crying my eyes out. I feel like I should be having the more emotional moment with him hugging his daughter.
Well, granted, he spent more time with Winnie the Pooh than his daughter, which is honestly pretty messed up if you think about it. Yeah,
I have an emotional connection to Winnie the Pooh, not to his daughter. It's fair. But she grabbed like one stray piece of paper because she dropped the briefcase, and it blew the papers everywhere. And just like, no, we were so close. And she grabbed one piece of paper. She's like, it's okay, honey. It doesn't. None of this matters. What matters is you. And he looks at the paper, and it's like a pie chart of like income distribution. And he grabs the paper upside down, and he's looking. He's like, oh. And he runs back to the boardroom where they're all still sitting there. And he's like, They were going through his briefcase and looking at the sticks and stuff. It's like, is that some sort of voodoo contraption? Madness takes many forms. And yeah, it's so weird that they would see like sticks in there and just think, oh yeah, this person's completely snapped, other than, maybe there's an explanation for this, who knows. But again, they're being super cartoonish in this. And Christopher Robin's, the way that he saves the day, like, the piece of advice he gives is, you need to give all of your employees paid vacations, because everyone is working all the time. But if they have more free time, they'll go on vacation, and they'll need luggage for that vacation. So they'll buy luggages for that vacation. It's like, yeah, he's making a good argument here. Like, people do need paid vacation time. They do need that time to go on holiday. They do need a time to relax, or else they will go insane. Yes, that is a very good point you're making. But you're making it to the guy who runs the company that's trying to figure out a way to get people to buy more of his luggage. That's not really going to work for this one guy. If you could get other companies to do it, bam, done. Like, if he even told him, it's like, listen, you start this, and then you convince all the other like bigwigs, all the other people who run companies out there. If you convince them, that's a good idea as well. Like, you show them how productivity is up ever since you started giving them paid vacations. They'll start taking paid vacations, and then their employees will buy our product. That would make sense, but he didn't say that. He said just give all of your employees paid vacation time. It's like, that won't actually... Again, everybody deserves paid vacation time, but if your logic is you'll make more money this way because then they'll be buying your merchandise, it'd basically be the same as saying, well, why don't I just buy my own merchandise? It's like, you need the people who don't work at your company to buy your product. So yeah, his big plan at the end, he's making a good point. Mm-hmm. I applaud him for that point. But again, it's like a lot of this movie. I get what you're going for, but it doesn't quite work.
Like the execution is
a lot of the execution, yeah.
Yeah.
This film is a very jumbled execution. When it works, it works. When it doesn't, it doesn't. But this movie ends with all of them going on vacation in the 100-acre woods. And you get the sense that it's like, yeah, once a year they're all going to go and visit the 100-acre woods. Yay, that's nice. And it's nice because, like, Eeyore kind of, like, likes his wife. I don't mean that in, like, I don't mean that, like, Eeyore has a crush on a human person. I mean that more as in, like, thank you very much, my wife, which is what he calls her.
Yeah.
Because it's like, this is my wife. Hello, my wife. So that's a running gag. But yeah, so it's like, okay, that's kind of sweet, and oh, she's giving Piglet acorns, and oh, that's nice, and yeah, it is very sweet at the end. But the rest of the film, I'm making it sound like this film is kind of a jumbled mess. It's not a mess, but it is jumbled. The execution, again, it feels like two different people had two completely different ideas for what to do about this, and rather than picking one, they merged them both together. But when the film works, it really works. And going back to what you were saying earlier, if you are a Winnie the Pooh fan, the half hour that you spend in the 100 Acre Woods, I think it's absolutely worth the price.
So like basically the emotional stuff, it works.
Yes.
But the execution is poor.
Yes.
Okay.
There you go. Good punchline, not a good setup. That's what I can say.
Alrighty.
But yeah, if you are a Winnie the Pooh fan, definitely check it out. For everybody else, I would still say check it out. But maybe wait till it comes on Netflix. Which this feels like a movie that will come on Netflix at some point. But thank you guys very much. That's the only one that I'm reviewing this weekend because I have a lot of work myself to do.
Yeah, it's kind of slow at the box office.
It's officially August. August, everybody's like, oh yeah, August, it's still part of the summer blockbuster month. Not really.
No.
August has become the summer blockbuster fumes. It's what all the studios thought were going to be big deals, but then they were like, we can't compete with all the really good things that are coming out. But we can put it out in August, still get those, last minute bucks from the movie audiences out there. That's okay. Well, that's
it's like
what we're
August is becoming the new February or something. Like
no. September's the new February. Actually, February's the new June. February is pretty damn good at the box office now.
Yeah, I guess so. It's like everything's all backwards now at the box office.
I know. It's almost like they've realized this whole idea of centering specific movie releases around a certain time of the year is total bullcrap. And people will pay to see good movies whenever they come out. February has actually been providing some pretty damn good movies recently. January will always suck, though. That will always be a hard and fast rule. But yeah, next week, though, is huge. Next week, MoviePass is officially done. For anybody who's not been paying attention to the news, MoviePass is over with. It's dead. I've already canceled my subscription to it. But I am going to start up the AMC program. And the AMC's version of this is pretty damn good because MoviePass, you have to see one movie a day. No more. That's all you can get, just one a day. The AMC program lets you see 3 movies a week. So unlike MoviePass, I can't do seven in a week. But with the AMC program, I can see 3 in a week, but I can see them back to back to back. So next weekend, we got Meg. We've got, which is the movie all about the daughter from Family Guy. We've got Meg. There's some other big release. I can't remember what it is. Like some major thing. Let me look this up real quick. It's one of those that as soon as I look it up, I'm going to be kicking myself. So we've got Meg for the giant, huge blockbuster audience out there. And then we also have, here we go. Oh, Black Klansman. So for the indie audience out there, we got that one. And I'm looking forward to that one. Because it's been a while since we've had good Spike Lee. This looks like good Spike Lee. So I'm looking forward to that. So we got Meg for the big blockbuster audience. We got Black Klansman for the indie audience. And then we got Slender Man. Ooh!
For the internet memers.
For the people out there like me who love just really, really bad horror films. I can't wait for that one. Next weekend, I'm excited for because I got the big dumb action film, I got the really smart indie film, and I got the super dumb horror film. It's everything I want all at once. So, I will be going and seeing those next weekend, and we might be able to get all those reviews up on Friday. This will be a new experiment for me. Yeah. But yeah, thank you guys very much. Come back then. Bye.